Hello everybody, hope you're doing well and welcome to the weekend. As a lot of you know, at the weekend we kind of chill back down on the channel and we look at the past, the future of Marvel Contest of Champions and what Kabam are up to. And one thing I want to do is go back to an old video which is called The Success and Non-Delivery of New Stuff, The Dev Diaries 2020 to 2022. And basically look at what I did in that video was I covered things that Kabam had had success in delivering and had not delivered since they said, right, we're going to make some changes and make the game all better again. And let's be honest, it wasn't really a great success between 2020 and 2021, and 2022 didn't really deliver a lot. But it's been 7 months and we want to see like where Kabam are up to, what have they delivered, Project Genesis, Wish Crystals, 6-star signature stones being in the game more prevalence, strikers, relics, progression, solo competitive mode, alliance rate, all these things, whether or not they're in, whether or not they're not in. So since I recorded that video, a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have been developed. A lot of things still remain undeveloped. And that's the thing. You know, Kabam have done a relatively good job with adding in things that they, by and large, had not delivered, but now have delivered. I have put, like, you can see on screen, I've put iffy by a few things, or a couple of things. And the reason behind that is that they're technically going to come in, but they're not in. So I can't give them, like, a pass to say they've been delivered. So let's look at them. Right, variants. Kabam seem to be completely done with variants, and variant 9 doesn't seem to be a thing. Is it fair that it's in there? Possibly not, but it was an ongoing thing that Kabam did. Gold offers spring to mind. Day of the Deadpool springs to mind with that particular follow-up sentence. And let's face it, we had Eternity of Pain, and that is basically a Summer of Pain 2, essentially. We also had the Grandmaster Gauntlet come back, but sadly that got taken away because it was exploited for rewards where players were able to repeat back on it, and it doesn't look likely that's going to come back anytime soon. Kabam have got an idea of bringing it back, and let's hope that it does come back very soon because it's something that I did once and I would like to do again, and also like try out with some better champions and scoop up some rewards. It was actually going to be why I'd pick up a lot of my 6-star shards, but sadly it's not there. There is a bit of good news though, and one thing that's got a green is a solo competitive mode. That's Battlegrounds, it's in. It's still a work in progress, and I kind of anticipate that in the new year it will really be in a good place. But there's a lot of teething problems in the second season that have really been inherited slightly from the bigger problems of the first season. But Kabam are using us as a, you know, a litmus test, a kind of like beta testers, as it were. So yeah, it's in. So good news, green. Alliance War revamp is still something that requires work, and given the idea that there could be more of a further improvement with that particular game mode, it doesn't seem like that has again been done in 2022. Maybe that will be done in 2023. There's also the Alliance Raid, which was something that Kabam did kind of like say about a long time ago, which was actually in the very early places of design process, which Kabam said back, I think it was last year or the year before. I think this is from the full check-in, which I think was 2021. There's also little things that I've not mentioned in my spreadsheet, which is like help all that being delayed, but that is still something that's been a problem prior to the dev diaries and will probably outweigh the game until its you know, eventual demise, whenever that will be. Also, something to point out before we go further into this, that there's a key to this, and the reason I've done the color scheme is that I've put orange or kind of amber being somewhat in-game, green being completed and obviously in-game, red being not being delivered in-game, or blue being Kabam went back on this or is lacking. There's two things that I want to point out, and the reason I've put relics and strikers being iffy is because, well, technically they're going to come in at some point, whether or not it's going to be next month or the month after. It does look likely they are close to being in, and that'll be something will either be you have to go to certain types of quests or whatever in order to get something good from it. Who really knows just yet? We'll have to see, but they've been in, you know, they're in the game files and we've done reviews on them on the channel. But in any case, moving on, right? More 6-star signature stones in game. I guess that's something that can be correct, but at the same time, it is a case you have to work for it. Like if you go to the Battlegrounds store, they've increased the volume that you can pick up 6-star signature stone wise for your purchase of your kind of trophy tokens, which is good. It allows a lot more for you to get than normally. A lot of the content that comes out regularly has a little bit of a buff to it when it comes to the volume of signature star stones. So you know, EOP, for example, there's a nice bump on a regular basis to pick that up. You could say that Cavalier difficulty has been bumped. Kabam will probably put in more things in the future. Yes, there's certain things for side quests. Yes, if you go further in incursions, possibly you do get it from there, and also in some of the new content that comes out. The reason I've left it amber is because I don't think it's a high volume. Especially, I reckon you'll start seeing a lot more 6-star signature stones when 7 stars are more prevalent in the game, because hey, prestige sells, and Kabam want to make sure that you are spending that do-re-mi to get a lot of those particular prestige bumps and keep people high in the competitive areas of the game by the means of spending. I do want to take a moment just to go back to alliance raids, and I do think that Kabam may have bitten off more than they can chew when it comes to battlegrounds and the time they developed that. And that kind of felt like a lot of invested time in order to get that right, which could have meant that alliance raids are kind of delayed. But I don't know if this is an update saying that this is 2022 or this the most epic battle arrives next year. I kind of feel like maybe they're kind of putting that next year being 2023, even though it says that 2022. I think it's 2023 for that. At this point, I want to mention Project Genesis. I've given this a green as completed in game because it is something since the last 7 months. Kabam Zero and team around Kabam Zero, whoever and wherever they are, they have done some fantastic work. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're like a bit kind of clueless to it, these little things that have changed in game have been just excellent, fantastic. The way that you're able to read nodes in fights, the way that energy now, when it goes past 70, so you've got to use an energy, you're using an energy refill, you won't lose out an energy when that happens. There's so many little fundamental changes in certain areas which have just allowed for a more smoother process of playing, which have given that quality of life improvement to a lot of players. The way that you use rank up gems, the way that you use signature stones, the way that you see signatures on champions, the way that in fights, if you kind of mess up and go, oh my god, I didn't read the nodes, and you're clues to what's going on, you can literally press pause and click on the champion's details or the node details at the bottom and find out mid-fight who you're fighting, in what kind of context, and you know the nodes. Obviously you know you're fighting, but the nodes, which is the most important thing when you get into a fight. But with the compliment comes with a criticism, and that is the wish crystal. Let's face it, an MCOC acquisition of champions is a problematic situation. You need champions to get through certain content. I have spent a lot of time trying to get certain champions, which a lot of people seem to have at 6-star. I'm not saying that's everybody, because there will be some people in the same situation wanting to acquire champions I may have, which they'll never get round to getting. But then it creates a problem. When I'm like going to myself, like, I really would have liked a 6-star Kingpin to create a strong backing around, take on certain content with people saying, oh, use Kingpin, or people are going, oh, use Kitty, and I'm like, I do not have these champions. Granted, this week I did pick up a Kingpin. Massive thumbs up for that one. Really excited about utilizing him for Battlegrounds. Especially because everyone in Battlegrounds now just uses the same type of people in their deck, and it just ultimately becomes repetitive and boring. But that's another story for another time. In any case though, just getting an acquisition of champions is really important to take on certain content, or at least have a bit of fun around why everybody else is having fun with other champions. Wish Crystal. We would have loved to seen it. It's not there, and yeah, it doesn't look like it's a 2022 thing. Looks like we'll have to wait until next year. But I did want to make this more of a quick dissection type video. So what we'll do is we'll just round off things that Kabam have developed, not developed, and stuff like that. So before, with social progression, I mean, social progression is not really here at the moment. I don't know how that was pitched. I'm gonna have to check in a minute how social progression was pitched to the community. Drop rate improvements were improved. I guess there's a debatable factor into getting them, and we'll have to see about the future of how 7 stars factor into a Thronebreaker crystal. Again, that's another story for another time. We've also seen that Act 6 and Act 7 improvements and improvement initiative, like getting people past Act 6 is there. It reached its final improvement, I think, in 2022. I don't think Kabam would do anything more with it. Reducing mental loadout on nodes. I've still kept that as amber somewhat in game, because that is something that teeters on the balance between not being delivered in game and is developed. It's better than it has been, but it's not really at a point where I can put that in a green and say that's completely completed, because then Kabam go back on their word with certain things and certain content that they've created since saying they would sort that out. There's also champion balancing, which I feel that is in an amber state. It could be a case that it could be a green state and completed in game because it's more of an ongoing thing and people can get stung with nerfs still. So that's something, again, I've given a slight pass to. Dual targets champions still aren't back since they were taken away. That's something we still need to see. Root mechanic is in game with the likes of Rintra, Craven, and I'm sure that will come in the future. Incursion improvements, of course, that has been done, and it was kind of like away. Now it's back, and that will be meta now for about a year to 2 years, especially when 7 stars come in. Duel and fight again, I think is the in-game because we've got that with practice and I think we've got that with duels now, so that's done. And fight replays are still something that needs to be improved and worked on. And yeah, the last time I checked is that social progression was on pause, especially with how they pitched it to be allow alliance mates to compete with one another across all game modes and earn variety of focused rewards, and that was put on the shelf. I don't know if that'll ever come back, to be honest. But the great thing about this is that since we did the video back 7 months ago, there's been an improvement. So before it was about 14 things that had not been delivered in game versus the 12 things completed in game and somewhat in game going to like close to 4. Now it's a different state with the completed in game is now up to 15 and not being delivered in game goes down to 12 with the somewhat in game down to 4 and 0. Kabam went back on the this or the word or whatever. That's debatable. As I said, this is based on like an opinion based on what I've seen so far, but it does look like Kabam are kind of edging and catching up with the stuff that they said they were going to deliver since 2020. The problem I've got is whether or not like roadmaps or dev diaries are worth it for Kabam to put out, especially because, as they said, they don't want to be kind of I don't know, forced down to do this stuff, especially when mistakes and issues happen that then take some weeks. I mean, the fiasco of Battlegrounds being released was not good. So that took a lot of the time of development time to like deliver that into a state. So a lot of it's been a case of catching up. There's obviously multiple teams dealing with multiple different things within MCOC, but it looks like they're getting somewhere. I'm not saying that they're getting there fast, but they've definitely got a lot further in the last 7 months than they have done in, I think it was, if we compare 2020 through to early 2022, that was like nearly 2 years of not being able to really make any gains, and now it looks like they're actually making some gains in the last 7 months. So I hope that in end of 2022 going into 2023 they really do catch up on the stuff that they said they were going to deliver for the community. But I think there's a bit of positivity there in that Kabam are doing a better job in 2022. Yes, granted, there's stuff that still needs to be delivered in game, but it does look like that's a bit more promising from what could be delivered to you know, the community and players, and also get that enjoyment up for players. But what is your thoughts on the development stage and as well Kabam's process? Do you think they're still not doing enough for the players? Do you think that this looks positive, it's going in a positive direction, and you want to see more in 2023? Are you done with the game and had enough of Kabam's BS? What are your thoughts? Put it in the comment section down below. This may be something me and Dan will look to try and get a Kabam member of the team in for a podcast. We have written questions, we're going to submit them, and we'll see whether or not a Kabam representative wants to come on the podcast. But it's been a nightmare in the past trying to get a member of Kabam to try and come on our podcast. I don't know why, because then, you know, they do interviews with other people, but life, eh? In any case, go and check out some other content. It's on screen right now. Cheers, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.